In our last video, we looked at how we need to use the Bible well when people come to us who have no framework whatsoever about what the Bible's about. Now, we obviously want to teach those in our church who are also mature in the faith. And somehow in our sermons and our preaching from the front, we have to kind of do both. Now, I'm not one for saying that we should do what the seeker sensitive services did 20, 30 years ago, which was to only concentrate on those who are new in the faith and preach very simply about things that would engage with them and at the stage they're at. Now, I don't want the Bible teaching to be complex, but we do need to get into the meat of the word on a Sunday as well, because that will infuse us. Besides, the seeker sensitive movement has admitted that the discipleship program didn't actually work very well because it wasn't maturing Christians. So, what I would tend to do with preaching is to say, there are going to be quite a different audience or a couple of different audiences among you. There's going to be people who are more mature and there's going to be new people coming in. And many of those new people coming in, from what I can hear, have learned their frameworks of life from YouTube or Jordan Peterson or various things like Stoics, as we looked at last week, or they've even been dabbling in crazy spiritualities. How do you do both a two-speed economy, so to speak, teach those who are mature in the faith and those who are very new to the faith in the same building? One of the things I think that is good to do is to have a virtual sidebar in your mind and in your conversation when you're preaching. When you're preaching and you can't delve into something completely that you want to help people in understanding their teaching, is to say, look, there's an issue here that I think we need to address. It's how do we deal with the invisible spiritual world for people who have dabbled in that? Now, this passage addresses some of the issues of the invisible realm that God is in control of, but not everything. So I'm going to mention it, but I'll just park it to the side. I'll acknowledge it and then say, and we might run a series, a short series, or even uh, a group later that deals with what does it mean to be living in a world that's spiritual as opposed to one that's just mainly material. So that's the way we can do it. The other way we can do it is just simply acknowledge every time we preach that this is a text that has transcendence baked into it, that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, that there is an invisible realm. People are coming to us saying, is this all there is? I've been told for 20 or 30 years that somehow the material world is all there is, but that's not true. It doesn't seem to be true. Our very preaching is designed to uh, just admit that the world is very strange compared to what the average materialist thinks. Now, this doesn't mean that we're getting into all sorts of crazy spiritual things happening from the front, but it is to acknowledge, as we preach, that if you really want to understand the Christian worldview, there's a heaven above and a hell below and an earth in the middle, and sometimes things leak between those places that we don't consider that surprising. It may not be that we, from the front, consider that normative every week, but we would have to at least acknowledge it. So I think when we're preaching very strongly to two audiences as new people come in, people who have no Christian framework and those who do. At the same time, we have to recognize that our Christians in our churches also are being discipled away from the gospel by other things as well. So, what we want to do is say there's a spiritual aspect to everything, and our preaching must do that, to acknowledge that. So, I'm very confident that as we open up the Bible to people who are coming new to us, they're going to see that there's a completely different way of looking at the world, both the invisible and the visible world, that the Bible pictures compared to what they've been taught in the past. So I'd want us to be able to acknowledge those things. What you may then go on to do, of course, is say we're going to run a course. And even if it is just your basic Christianity explained or explored course, you want to make sure that you're saying to people, you've got to park your categories of how the world is put together over there, because I want to show you how the Bible speaks about the invisible and visible categories and how the Bible speaks about things that we can't see and that are eternal. People are looking for something more. They're not simply looking for a Christianity that sort of dovetails with what the world already says is possible or allowed. They're looking for something more than that. So this is a good time to be able to open up the Bible to people. It's a radical time in some senses. People are coming back to something that they didn't even know they wanted. And I think that's exciting for us. So let's make sure that when we teach the Bible, we're able to do it to this two speed economy for the discipled Christians already who need maturity, and for those who are coming in with no categories at all.